Welcome to Straight Outta Health IT. Getting into health tech is rough, but here's an unfiltered dialogue of healthcare leaders and influencers covering a wide variety of issues affecting healthcare and the health tech industry. And now your host, Christopher Cunny.
Hello, everyone. This is Christopher Cunny, and welcome back to another episode of Straight Outta Health IT. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to tune in and listen to this amazing guest that I have on today. Today, we're going to be talking about patient advocacy. I've done a series of podcast interviews with different folks over the past probably through 2 or 3 months now that have talked about their own patient journeys. And I wanted to bring on this individual to discuss her experience as well and her passion for advocating for yourself as a patient and for your loved one. Let me introduce you to Nancy J. Lewis. Nancy is a leading motivational and inspirational keynote speaker, trainer, author, and registered corporate coach. She is the president of Progressive Techniques Incorporated, based here in Fayetteville, Georgia, where the theme of her organization is developing a better you. She's earned her master's degree from Georgia State University in urban and public affairs with a concentration in human resources. And Nancy has worked as an adjunct faculty instructor at Georgia State University, where she's also taught an undergraduate human resources course. She's been speaking and consulting and conducting training for over 30 years. Nancy is also a former Dale Carnegie instructor. Her company works to transform organizations by helping people achieve their full potential and walking into their destiny. She conducts dynamic keynotes and seminars on diversity and inclusion, unconscious bias, emotional intelligence, leadership, human resources, personal development, and she delivers customized, energizing, and interactive content-rich presentations that provide strategies for everyday living. Nancy is an executive and business coach and works with CEOs and their leadership teams to help transform and enhance their careers. She's also a former medical technologist with a specialty in blood banking, and she is determined to help her family, friends, and business network become strong advocates. And if that's not enough, she's also an author. She has co-authored multiple books, Millennials and Beyond, Making the Leap from Texting to Talking, which probably is a podcast in and of itself we need to have, and BE International, 365 Inspirational Messages to Live an Intentional Life, and her latest book, Growing in God's Grace, 31 Affirmations for Tweens and Teens. Without further ado, let me introduce you to Miss Nancy J. Lewis. Nancy, thanks so much for joining Straight Outta Health IT.
Hi, Christopher. I'm so glad that you had me on the show. I didn't know you would read the whole bio.
Read the whole thing, girl. You have a very illustrious career. You're doing some amazing things to help people grow and develop, and you deserve to have all of that shared with our listeners.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So today we are going to be chatting a little bit about patient advocacy. And one of the first things I like to do with my guest before we really delve deeply into the subject, because I think a lot of times it really sets the stage for why you're interested in the profession you're in and the things that you're advocating for, is your kind of own personal story. If you would share with our audience your journey as a business professional and then someone who has been advocating for themselves and for their loved ones around their healthcare. We were just talking before we recorded this about our own personal stories. I decided, let's press pause and let's stop. Let's get audio and video so we don't have to repeat it. With that, please share it with us, your personal journey.
So there's a couple situations that occurred. The most recent one was probably about, I would say 7 or 8 years ago. I fell in a public building on a marble floor. And really, I was on an event there, actually. And I fell right before the event was getting ready to start. I was,
oh my God,
like about 10 minutes before starting.
I said, break a leg, huh?
My heel caught the marble floor, whatever. Next thing I know, I was on the floor, and my knee, it puffed up.
Oh no!
So the people in you got to sit here, don't move. We got to call the hospital. You got to go to emergency room. All this. I'm like, wait. So they said, no, we got to get you there because we don't know if something's broken, whatever. So I'm like, so they said, just sit there. So I sat there, and And then they came and brought the emergency stretcher, took me out of the facility, the building, and took me to an emergency room. Now my bit is still going on.
Sure.
I said, I'll be back. I get to ER at this hospital. They take me to the room and they say, the doctor comes in and he says, so what happened? And I said, I fell on a marble floor and you can see it was swollen. It was badly swollen. And I said, it's badly swollen. I said, and it hurts. So he moved my leg a little bit. He said, oh, it's not broken. You're okay. Yeah, I walk out the room. I said, excuse me. Wait a minute. Hold up. I said, wait a minute. No, I fell in a public building and this is swollen and I'm glad that it's not broken. I'm happy for that. But you don't know what's going on underneath the surface. I need you to do an x-ray. I said, let's do an x-ray on this to make sure. So I have a baseline. So should I have to go to court or anything? I have a baseline of what this is all about. He literally said to me, that's why healthcare costs are going up.
Wow.
I said, you need to do the x-ray. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, this is not about healthcare costs. This is about my personal situation. I want to know what's wrong with me.
And I just said, I want to make sure there's no fraction or nothing going on beneath this. Yeah, it's not broken, but what's going on underneath? I need to have a baseline because they're going to want to know this place where I fell. What was the baseline? If I have no x-ray, what do I have? I said, so just...
But my knee is swollen, so something is going on. It's not normal. Can we make sure there's not any internal bleeding or any torn cartilage or ligaments? Or
he came to this, literally, Christopher, moved my leg around. He's on the table, on the stretcher, whatever they had, little bed I was in. He moved my leg around and said, okay, it's not broken. He said, so you're good, basically. All right. Oh, no, you need to do an x-ray. That was the point of where, because I worked in healthcare, because I've worked in hospitals, and because I am not going to just let you treat me any kind of way, I said, no, I need you to do an x-ray.
Exactly.
And so he did the x-ray, then he gave me the x-ray when I got ready to leave, and I took it with me, so I had it as a baseline. But it was sad. If I had not asked for it, he was literally going to just roll me out there and say, okay, you're dismissed.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I know we were talking earlier about our different family members. I think you had mentioned your mom as well. Yes. And I was sharing with you my mom's personal story too, that unfortunately she lost her battle with kidney cancer. And she was actually for years going to her primary care physician, and she was notating that, letting him know that she noticed blood in her urine. And he told her that was normal. And for years she went around believing that having blood in my urine is normal. And my mom, she had the white coat syndrome, so she believed exactly what he said, till it got to a point where it was so pervasive, they had to run tests, and then they discovered that she had a massive tumor on her kidney that by the time we discovered it, it had metastasized. And unfortunately, it was far too late to do much more than chemo, which she refused to do. And ultimately, she succumbed to the cancer itself, which is unacceptable that in this day and age, we still have to hold our healthcare professionals accountable for providing proper care for us, to ourselves and to our loved ones. And I just wanted to throw that in. I know you had other stories, and I want you to finish your journey as well, too.
When you talk about that, I walked with my mom through her breast care journey. There was just a lot of learning in the process of that, because I'd never been a healthcare person. I was healthcare, but never having to walk someone close to me through something like that. Mm-hmm. And as we're going through the journey, I just remember there was one time that was just so interesting, because I was like in their face. Right. Literally, I said, this is my mom. So they would get ready to, she went through chemo. She lived like about 2.5 years after she was diagnosed. And at the end, just got tired, but she never looked like she was sick. When people see her, they would never know she was sick, because she just didn't look like she was sick. And so we went there, and they would be doing these, she had the port and everything. So they would be getting ready to inject stuff. And I was, excuse me, I need to know what is in that vial. I need to see the directions. I need to know what the side effects are. And they would look at me like, I said, no. In every packaging, there's always a direction circular.
Exactly.
I need to see what that is. And they would look at me like, I said, I worked in healthcare. They would give me the direction circular. I would ask them a question. They would be like, so I was really all into everything. What are you doing there? Excuse me. You need to do. I was like literally helping them out. And they were just like, okay, you're very involved in the process. Yes, I am.
Exactly. And why wouldn't I be? I should be. I should want to know what you're putting in my body or my loved one's body and what the impact will be. I just share with you as well. I just went through a medical procedure that caused some significant side effects that I'm quite honestly still recovering from. Mm-hmm. And after doing research, I found that I'm in kind of the 1% of people that would be adversely affected by this type of procedure. Had I known that early on, I probably would not have done the procedure. Uh-huh. And I would have assumed the healthcare professionals that I was working with would have noted that or informed me that there's the likelihood of these things happening by receiving this type of procedure. So anyway, it's interesting where we are as a society, and it's interesting where our healthcare professionals' mindsets are too, when we do ask questions or in some cases challenge on the rationale for doing what they're doing, or one more important, just want to be more informed about the procedure, the drug, the side effects, all of those things so that we can make a more informed decision.
And I think people have to be willing to ask questions of their physician, of the healthcare practitioner, whether it's a doctor or whatever it is. You need to be able to ask questions and get answers to your questions, period.
That's right.
And it needs to be explained in simple terms so that you can understand and make a conscious decision if you want to do something. Because sometimes I went to one physician years ago and I was having acid reflux. Mm-hmm. It was like I would eat and it was just uncomfortable. So I went to this physician and I don't forget, he had no bedside manner, none. And so he wanted to prescribe this pill to me. And I just looked at him and basically I said, you can write the prescription. I'm not going to take it. And so I didn't go back and see him again because if you don't have a bedside manner, you see me one time because right. I work in healthcare. I'm going to be an advocate for myself or anyone that I care about. If they bring me in, I'm going to ask you questions. But what I realized is that I said, let me just go back and look at what I've been doing. And I realized at that time, I had been eating a lot of fried food. What I realized from that is that I cannot eat a lot of fried food consecutively because it will give me acid reflux. So I just changed my diet. Sure. Sometimes people, you have to look at, okay, what am I doing? What have I done recently that might be impacting this? And where I realized what I've been doing, I said, when I stopped that, it went away.
And I think there's a saying, what we put in our bodies is either helping us or killing us. And so you have to understand what those foods, and food can be medicine or it can be poison as well too. And so it's important for us to understand what our bodies are reacted to, and that everything doesn't have to necessarily be solved with a pill, right?
That's critical. Sometimes you have to ask someone, okay, what other options do I have? But you sometimes, as the advocate, have to say, okay, doctor, whoever it is, what other options do I have? Now, maybe you can take a pill for a while until you get over a hump.
Exactly.
Maybe some period. But is there another option? Sometimes people just need to, as you said, change their diet, begin to exercise. That will solve some of the problems.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I've got, unfortunately, 2 loved ones right now this week that are being placed in the hospice, one with terminal pancreatic cancer and another that has severe rheumatoid arthritis and several other comorbidity issues related to her health, to the point where now she is unable to eat and really move around effectively as well too. And now they've decided to put her in hospice care. And the loved one that has pancreatic cancer 2 years ago had gone to the doctor, and there was a small lesion on her liver, I believe it was. And at that particular time, the doctor said that everything's fine. And again, the white coat syndrome, we decide to trust that doctor knows what the doctor is telling them, what's in their best interest. And 2 years later, she has full-blown stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Now, could the doctor have done more? Possibly. Should the patient have asked for more? Most likely. But there has to be a better collaboration, a better improvement in how we deliver care to individuals. And we as patients, also to your point, have to be advocates and say, okay, I'm not comfortable with that answer. Let me go get a second opinion. And once she got a second opinion, that particular doctor had said, no, they probably should have done further tests that they didn't do at the time. But what would you, if you do a lot of coaching and professional development, what would you tell as a coach and someone who advocates for improving who you are professionally? What would you tell clinicians they can and should do better when interacting with patients?
First of all, I realize sometimes there's these numbers. They got to get so many people through in a period of time. But people are not cattle. You cannot hurt them through. And so I think physicians realize some patients don't require a whole lot. They're easy. Some patients like me ask lots of questions if I need to. And you're not going to just herd me through to the next person. That's not going to happen for me. I will sit here, and most of my physicians know me, and they spend time talking to me. Sometimes I'll say, okay, I'm good. I don't have any more questions. But if there's something I'm concerned about, I've come in, I've Googled it. And again, sometimes we can be our own worst advocates. We're Googling, getting information, got all this stuff out here, but we come armed to ask questions that sometimes they're not anticipating. And so I have to say to clinicians sometimes to really work on applying emotional intelligence with people.
Exactly.
To realize when people come to the doctor's office, they may be coming for a physical. And I tell people what you need to be doing as an advocate, you need to be having an annual physical. Those are taken care of by most insurance companies, an annual physical, because if you have it every year, it's a way of tracking and staying on track with what's going on with your body.
That's right. Give me your baseline. Mm-hmm.
And but if you don't have that, like I had one lady had never been to the doctor. One of my clients had not been to the doctor for 7 years because she said she was too busy. I said, you're never too busy to go to the doctor. Right. That's crazy. I think that with people, the clinicians have to apply emotional intelligence and realize some people are, when they come in, if it's a physical, it's different. If they come in, they're not feeling well, you got to really understand they're there because in this situation, they don't feel well. How can I basically take the time I need with them? And I think because they are skilled at that, they should be able to develop some kind of system. They know when they need to dial back, when they need to dial forward.
Sure.
And who needs more, who needs less.
I think that's key. I think that the term you use, emotional intelligence, is key. You got to know your audience, especially if someone's dealing with a chronic disease and or a potential terminal disease. People are afraid. People are scared. Sometimes they're in denial. And then sometimes they just don't know what to ask because they're still in shock about their condition. And so I think it's incumbent upon those clinicians to have that emotional intelligence to understand where this patient might be in their journey and to be sensitive to that. And there may be times where you need to spend more time educating and making aware of what their condition is and the pros and cons of different drugs and alternatives. And then there are times, like you said, you come in and you're really prepared, you're knowledgeable, they can tell what's going on. You just need to make sure that we're staying on track and, hey, answer the questions I need to make me feel comfortable that you have my best interest at heart. We don't expect doctors to be magicians and that they know all things, but we do expect them to be human beings, just like we are. And if they were sick or ill or depending on someone else to take care of them, what would they expect that person? How would they expect that person to interact? And what would you want them to say and do to make you feel better about they're in the right hands? For someone who's going to care for them. And also, and then to flip that script, what would you tell then patients how they should respond, act as they're interacting with clinicians?
I think as a patient, when you go as a patient, whether you are feeling good or you're not feeling good, I think there's a level. I respect physicians because I work with them. I've had experience with them. I've trained with them, et cetera. I used to work at Emory University hospitals. I have worked firsthand with and had to talk to physicians about different situations. You and I, we're at a different, sometimes our level because of our background. Sure. This is a different space in terms of how we relate to people. Right. We can be very demanding of what we want. So I think for people that are average, people who go to the doctor, I think you need to ask questions. There needs to be, if you have your body better than anybody else, period. And when you go and if you have an annual physical and they do blood work, they always do blood work when you have your physical. And sometimes you may have some of your tests may be outside the range of normal. You need to ask questions. What does that mean? You have your CBC, your complete blood count. They do the biochemical profile, where they're doing your chloride, just studying all those things. If these are out of whack, if they're out of the normal range, ask what is that? Now, if it's 1/10 out, that's not really significant, but it'll still record as abnormal. But if it's something you're concerned with, that like you have the BUN and creatinine, those are elevated, those are kidney function tests. Okay, I want to know if that's high. What does that mean? Asking questions, so doing your due diligence, because usually they will send you your results. So when you come in, you've looked at stuff. And most people now, they're going to Google some stuff, but you need to come in. Questions. What does this mean? Do I need to do anything else? And if you're not comfortable, then you need to say, okay, can I get a second opinion? Who do I need to talk to get a second opinion to make me feel comfortable? Because at the end of the day, it's your body.
That's right. And it's so funny you said that because I was going to actually make that similar comment, is that it is okay to request, ask, seek a second opinion. One of the things I used to tell my mom all the time too is, Mom, if you took your car to a mechanic for this noise that you're hearing and he never fixed it and you've taken it a couple of times, would you keep going back to that same mechanic and he can't solve the problem for you? Your body, look at the doctor as a body mechanic, right? If you're going to the doctor and you're not seeing an improvement, you're not getting the answers you need, you feel still uncomfortable, uncertain about your diagnosis, and treatment options available to you, you deserve and have the right to go seek a second opinion, just to, if nothing else, validate that this person is saying the right things, or more importantly, if there is another alternative for me to consider that they didn't share with you or maybe not even aware of, you have that in your tool chest to consider when you're trying to figure out what's in the best interest for yourself or your loved one that you're advocating for as well. So I'm a firm believer in second, third opinions if you need them, whatever it takes for you to feel comfortable with where you are in your health journey and that you've explored all the options that might be available to you.
But I just mean to get you value what the physician says. You respect them for their learning, the things they know. But at the end of that, time, Jesus is the healer. He sends us to physicians who have been graced with knowledge.
That's right.
To help you. But at the end of the day, you have to decide, okay, because sometimes people get put on medicine, they just need to change their diet. Clearly, some people I told you, if you change your diet and start exercising, you wouldn't have to take some of these pills, but you refuse. Your treadmill at home is your clothes rack. Okay.
Exactly.
So sometimes we have to be willing to say, okay, what am I not doing? Sometimes you got to look at yourself in the face and say, what am I not doing that's contributing to some of these health issues? Because sometimes you're eating fried food every day. You're eating fast food every day. These are things that, again, you are what you eat.
That's right. And I think you bring up an important point as well, too. The doctors can only do so much to help you improve your care. They're trained to address issues in certain ways. But ultimately, you're still responsible for your overall health as well. And just taking a pill to mask the symptoms of a bigger issue, high blood pressure, diabetes, you name your chronic illness, there are other ways and other things you can do to improve your health. There's this term, medicine. Food is medicine. There are foods you can eat that can help you improve your health, and then there are foods you can eat that can help you accelerate the decline of your health. You have to take the personal responsibility to do that, and your body needs to continue to move. You can't just live a sedentary lifestyle as well, too, and expect to have a high quality of health. And as we continue to age, and I'm going to hit a big milestone birthday this year myself, I'm even more conscious about my health and what I'm putting in my body, both mind, body, and soul.
Yes.
Addressing all of those things, because I think the mind does have an impact on the body, and the body has an impact on the mind, and the soul has an impact on all of it. And we need to think about it in a very holistic way, and we have to take some personal accountability for our overall well-being as well.
Because you eat it at fast food places 3 or 4 times a week, and you never basically have vegetables. You don't drink water. Again, there's certain things you need to be willing to change. You have to be looking at yourself and say, you know what? There's some things I need to correct. I must correct, because it's my health. Your health is your wealth. And so if you're not willing to do those things yet, you go to the physician and he says you're 30 pounds overweight, and you've been having a relationship with the refrigerator. Yeah, you're 30 pounds overweight, but that's something that's manageable. You can actually lose that weight and basically sometimes stop taking pills. But again, you have to decide, do you want to do that? You're the owner of your health. You have to decide, I'm going to be my greatest advocate by making sure what I put in here. That doesn't mean you deprive yourself of everything you want to eat, but it does mean sometimes moderation is critical. That means you can't eat fast food every day. You don't eat fried food every day. There's certain things you need to be mindful of in terms of saturated fats, unsaturated fats, all those things. You can get caught up into just all kind of stuff, but it's just really being mindful that it's moderation. And then if you're exercising, doing things you need to do, moving, all those things are going to work together.
That's right. And I think also, to your point, proper food, diet, everything, things in moderation that aren't healthy for you, adding exercise to your daily activities. It's not something that is extra. It's a part of your lifestyle. And then I think making sure that you are addressing your emotional health as well, too, your spiritual health, whether it's reading or meditating or praying or finding outlets that help you feel emotionally sound, I think are equally important as well, too. This is always the case. We never have enough time to cover everything we want to cover. And my podcast is only 30 minutes, so it goes pretty quickly. I do want you to take a few minutes to share a little bit about your company, what you do, and then any kind of words of wisdom or final thoughts you'd like to share with our listeners as well.
Okay. Our company, Progressive Techniques Incorporated, our tagline is Developing a Better You. We provide management development training, specifically in the area of a lot of what people call the soft skills. I say they're essential skills now, because emotional intelligence, leadership, communication, diversity, inclusion, and equity, unconscious bias, those are topics that are relevant to everyday life. You need to know how to leverage them. So I do a lot of training for organizations in those areas. Also do a lot of stuff around the generational divide because I wrote a book about generations. So a lot about helping people learn how to navigate the generations and get able to work better together. I also am an executive business coach. So I work with people one-on-one, CEOs and their leadership teams, helping them navigate the changing world of work is what I would say, because we're talking about in this changing world of work, in this post-COVID, whatever we want to call this era, I work with a lot of organizations and their staff at all levels, helping them navigate and talking to them, helping them realize where they want to go and seeing things they can't see for themselves because they're too close to it. So that's what I do for organizations, Fortune 500, 150, government agencies, nonprofits, academia. I work with all of them. It's just the gift God has given me. So it's the gift he's given me to use to help organizations. So that's what I do.
No, that's great.
My tip literally is that this is real simple. Your health is your wealth.
Your health is your wealth. And I think that's great. And I'd love to have you back on to have that conversation about generational, what's the term I'm looking for, just interaction between the generations as well, too. I do a lot of mentoring and coaching, and then even with my own kids, I'm trying to interact with them. And I try to stress the importance of verbal communication versus just electronic communication. Yeah. And I said, much as you may want to think, a lot of times the people that you, especially if you're looking for a job, for example, are trying to grow in your career, I say those people have a lot of those folks who are in those positions of influence they have gray hair in their head like me. My generation. And although we have seen the progression of technology and we use it every day, we didn't grow up with it. And so our natural inclination is to want to interact with you as a human being, not as a digital device. And you have to be comfortable in doing that. And as you're trying to navigate and grow your career, it is all about building relationships as well, too, and interacting with people. And people help the people that they know, that they like, that they connect with. And it's a challenge to do that in a digital world that we live in. And I was talking to a friend recently. He's actually launching a foundation around this, about the fact that we've gotten away from human touch as well, too. Simple things like hugging and, embracing and holding hands and shaking hands and things of that nature, and how that affects us, our bodies and our psyche. And especially in communities of color, where many times as a Black man, we're seen as a threat. We don't maybe grow up in dysfunctional households. We don't see a lot of love or get a lot of love and affection. And we build up these walls and these dysfunctional ways of interacting with human beings because we're not touched. We're not embraced. And so I think health is more than just, again, eating proper foods. It's all those other things as well, too, which is another topic for another time.
It's clear because it's like your health is your wealth, but you have to have, to your point, my faith is what helps me significantly. My faith is what girds me up. And I tell people, you got to find what that is for you, but it's my faith that helps me navigate the terrain of things when things are happening. And it's very all people who are positive, uplifting people who look for and try to see, okay, this may be a difficult situation, but how do we look at this from a different perspective?
Exactly. So I've got 1 minute. And I want to give you that for any final thoughts that you would like to share with our listeners.
If they want to reach me, they can reach me at 770-964-5533. That's 770-964-5533. And I just say, be your own best advocate for yourself. Make sure you know what you need to do for your health, for yourself, period. That's like getting physicals, getting those things that you know that are preventative, doing the things you need to do for you. That's where it starts.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to drop the mic on that. And I want to thank Miss Nancy J. Lewis for taking time out of her busy schedule to come and chat with us about the importance of patient advocacy and owning your own health as well, too. So thank you, Nancy. We got to have you back on soon to continue the conversation and other important topics as well. That's it, everyone. Thank you again for taking time out your busy schedules. Tune in and check out this episode of Straight Outta Health IT. As always, your comments, feedback, and support are welcome. If you liked what you heard today, please take the time to share this with 3 other people. Let's make this episode go viral. Thanks again for your support. Take care, God bless, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for listening to Straight Outta Health IT. We hope you enjoyed today's guest. For more unfiltered dialogue of healthcare leaders and influencers, be sure to tune in next week. For the show notes, transcripts, and resources, please visit Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite streaming platform. We invite you to give us feedback by reaching out to Christopher Cunny on LinkedIn, just searching for Straight Outta Health IT, and you'll find us. We are constantly having live discussions about diverse topics in the industry.